Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I get the opportunity to work on one of a few reels that Captain Ramon has sent in. All three of them need some service. All three of them have got a failure point to them. There's two Penn Powergraphs that he sent in that do not have anti-reverse features. And there's a Penn Squall that was also sent in. And this one, it's pretty obvious, loose screws and everything, that someone's been in there doing something, but it's not working. And in this case, it does not go into free spool. So we're going to have to do that one. We'll do that as a separate video. We'll call these Why Do Fishing Reels Fail? But this one is a Powergraph. It's a Penn 4000. And actually, when I'm hearing that, it kind of sounds like maybe that spring is trying to work somehow. Not sure. This is the override, but, well, it doesn't seem like it's doing very well there either. So we're going to have to take this off to see. And the reel that we're working on here, well, graph. This is kind of the first time that graphite started to become popular. That kind of dates the reel. It was made in Japan. That also sort of dates the reel. This reel's got a lot of dirt in it. Hasn't been serviced in a while. We'll get into that in a moment. But we want to go underneath the covers, see if we can fix the anti-reverse, tune this reel up, get this one back to Captain Ramon, see if he can't take it fishing again. So lessons learned here. Well, one of them is, generally speaking, service your reels a little bit more frequently. This one clearly hasn't seen attention in a while. You see a lot of corrosion on the metal plating. That's not going to stop the reel from working. But for example, I suspect this collapsible handle may or may not collapse. It doesn't, and that button should easily push in. Well, we're going to take this reel apart completely. We'll do the diagnosis. Hopefully we'll do the repair. And that's what this channel is about. It's about sharing with you the information I've accumulated and the knowledge that I have over time on how to service and repair fishing reels, a little bit about their histories, and well, a lot of bit about how to keep these reels fishing for a long time to come. If you enjoy that type of video, if you want to learn more about those kinds of things, then I encourage you to subscribe. I just removed the handle. Hopefully we can pull this out. We can. That's no small feat sometimes. And we're going to put that right back in here so that I don't lose that screw. We put the cap into a parts tray, and I recommend that you have a system of dealing with the parts that you remove from a reel. I use a fast food container, and I would recommend that you find something. It doesn't have to be what I use, but find something that helps you to organize your pieces and parts, and hopefully deal with it. Well, this one's corroded in place. That's not a problem. All you have to do here, or all that you're missing, is the ability to fold this for transport. But as long as it's locked in the full out position, that's fine. I put a little bit of penetrating oil on there. We'll see if that frees it up. Probably not, given the state of that. Next thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of penetrating oil onto the seams in the roller guide. I want to make sure, as I test, that the bail trips. Well, the bail does trip. It's sluggish, I can see that. And that's all about the dirt and grease, grime and corrosion building up in these seams. So what you do is you take that penetrating oil, just work it in there. It generally will loosen up that dirt, and over time restore that trip function. And there you go, just like that. So you don't even have to do major surgery there. Let's get underneath the covers here. Let's see what's going on with this reel. We can take off the click ratchet and the spool shim washer. Now we have 4 screws that are holding the side plate on. So let's go deal with those. And then we're going to look inside as to how this reel is made. I've looked at the schematic on this one. I did not print it down. I probably should have. And that's one of my pieces of advice almost in every video. If you don't know the reel, go ahead and get the schematic off of the internet. One of the good places for that is a site called reelschematic.com. But generally, if you put in the search bar of whatever browser you're using, if you put in the name of the reel followed by the words reel schematic, that generally will bring you to that site among others, and you can get the burst diagram for the reel. Alright, well, those 4 are off. This side plate does not go under the rotor, so we should be able to remove that right now. And we can see what I'll call a pedestrian design here. Looks like we have a bearing in there. We have the main gear. We have a tie down for the axle shaft and the crosswind block. We have dirty dried grease in there, which says that the reel hasn't been serviced recently. Anytime the reel has the opportunity to have the oils and greases evaporate, dry, and lacquer, means that that grease has been sitting in there for quite some time. If you service your reels on a regular basis, and by regular I generally mean on an annual basis, you can avoid that and you can keep your reels properly oiled and greased. I'm going to take a shot of the penetrating oil and put that onto that bearing there so we can clean that in a little bit. I just removed the 2 screws that hold on the axle shaft to the crosswind block, so we can pull up that axle shaft now. We'll wipe that down. That'll enable us to remove the top side, which is where the anti-reverse issue is. Okay, while we're at it, we're going to remove just looking for my pick, the crosswind block. Now we can remove the main gear. The back side of this one is a bushing, not a bearing, so this has got 2 bearings in it, not 3. We should be able to remove that, and you can see there's a lot of dried grease and like. I'm still curious here because this, well, I guess that's just the tensioner as it is. I'm going to hose down these parts with the penetrating oil. Again, I want to make sure that the little greases are off of there. You can see that, again, that's been dried for a very long time. I'm going to use a cotton swab to get some of that inner grease, well, try to get some of that inner grease off there, but that's really shellacked on there. So let's go see if we can't find something to scrape that with. So this looks like a case of use the reel until it breaks as opposed to keeping it serviced. Again, this is coming off in chunks, which means that it's been in there probably several years in order for it to kind of dry like that. But that might be good news. I'm hopeful, maybe, just maybe, that the reason why the anti-reverse isn't working is that it's gummed up with some old greases that won't allow it to trip. That would be a hope. That would be a best case scenario because the springs and parts are no longer available for them. Alright, I used the spray, cleaned up the crosswind block here. Put that into the tray. I'm going to spray this down. We did a lot of the chipping away. Get a hard brush and pull through the teeth of the main gear. Dislodge any of the greases that are caught up in the teeth there. Looks like we knocked a little bit off here. One more circle with that cotton swab, and I think we've got the main gear pretty well cleaned. A little bit on the channel in between here. We'll get that off. And you'll notice I'm pulling that onto a paper towel here. That way it doesn't get onto my desk and transfer it to the next piece. And we can wipe off the front. Okay, the main gear looks good, other than the old greases. And notice that there is a shim washer on here underneath that bearing. Do the same thing here with that crosswind block, and then we'll satisfy my curiosity. We'll go up top there. We'll see what's going on with the anti-reverse. That's what the issue is in this reel, and hopefully we can restore it. It's a nice reel. It's I guess at the time it was the replacement for the Silver Series reel. The Silver Series reel was the 100 series, 100, and then I think it went to a 101, 103, 4, 5. I don't think there was a 102 in that series. Could be wrong. Let's see if we can get that off. So we've removed the inner gearing. Now we're going to come up top to get to the gear that's under the rotor here, and also get the first look at the anti-reverse. Well, the anti-reverse does have the eccentric in here, and the eccentric is working. So what we have, I guess, is what I was wondering about here. So on the back end of this, we got a little bit of something caught up in there. Well, that doesn't help, does it? That's a click ratchet. There's something rubber here that has melted off. Never a good sign. And your anti-reverse dog has to swing out. And this is blocking it. This is your... Alright, so this would bring it out. This would enable it to come out. I think what we just have here, essentially, the springs are in place. I think we just have a dirty dog. You dirty dog. Alright, let's see if that helps. It usually does. Okay, I think that's going to solve it. I'm going to put it on real quick, see if that's the answer. Yeah, there you go. Simple as that. We now have an anti-reverse dog back in place. Well, Captain Ramon got lucky there. All right, that goes off to the side. We're going to take the collar off. Take pictures here so you know what you're doing. That collar has an angle that goes down. We want to remove these two screws to remove the pinion gear so that we can clean that. The collar, these screws act as the collar. And then we can pull the screws, pull the shaft. Yeah, we're right back to where we should be. We've never touched anything other than some good old penetrating oil, cotton swab, a little bit of cleaning. Very good. All right, we got lucky. All right, we want to just take a moment since we removed that to get back underneath. And I guess the good news with this one, if there is good news, is that the parts didn't break. So this reel can be restored pretty much to its optimum performance. And that's what this is all about. It's about showing you how to do it and enabling these reels to get that second chance. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, if you want to leave that question in the comment section, I will try to answer those for you. That bearing's working fine. You saw me twirling it. I wanted to make sure that it was just a nice, smooth operation. It is. A little bit of oil on there. Let that sink in because it's shielded. Doesn't look like we have to clean much because, well, all of that got spun off of there and probably lodged behind that main gear that we were cleaning before. Nonetheless, we'll do the same thing. We'll take a hard brush, pull through to make sure that all these channels and teeth are clean. And now we can go ahead and re-grease it. We're going to use Penn Precision Reel Grease for that. Not because it's a Penn reel, but because it's a fishing reel grease. And I only recommend that you use fishing reel greases on the reels that you service. If you want to become a fanatic, you can go out and get the fishing reel greases for each manufacturer. You don't need to do that. They all seem to have the same effect. Somebody out there will disagree, but to me, I notice very little difference in it. But I do recommend that you only use fishing reel greases when you do that. Take the time to reinstall the piece. Merge that back into your case. Go grab the screws that we just took out. They're going to act as the collar and put those back in. Now this is a graphite case or a plastic case. It says Powergraph, so I'm going to think it's a graphite case, but It's got the white, so it almost looks like a spray painted white case. I don't know. It's not that important. It is a lightweight reel. And a 2-ball bearing reel. Okay, that's done. We've cleaned the crosswind gear. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to apply the grease to that now. Crosswind gear gets grease all around. It gets grease on the teeth. Gets grease behind it, inside the circle where it's going to ride on the cam, outside where the crosswind block is going to ride. When you put that back on, orient the stud to the bottom of the case. What we can do at this point, just want to take a little scrubby pad and some rod and reel cleaner and just get the dirt off the inner part of this rotor. While we have it off, it's easier to clean it that way. Just grab another paper towel here to polish that off. This is a cleaner and a polish, so it kind of works both ways. And while you're at it, you could put a little squirt into the trip mechanism area. Okay, good there. Next up, we're going to bring that collar in. Make sure that you put that angled piece into the slot there. And then, at least for a moment, we're going to turn this to the off position so that we can load the rotor back on. Rotor goes back on. Rotor nut goes back on. Hand thread this, that way you don't run the risk of cross threading it. If you can't easily tighten it by hand, you may have an issue. Spin it, make sure that it spins nice and easy. It does. And we have that tie down screw that goes underneath to hold that rotor nut from slipping off, which they are prone to do. Alright, that's on. Next up is the main gear. We've cleaned it. We've inspected the teeth. Now it's time to regrease front and back, and we can load that into the reel. And we want to do the same thing on the back side of this crosswind block. Get grease in the channel and on the face. Load that over the stud. Kind of square that up. That'll enable us to work with the axle shaft. Just the lightest amount of grease on that. Find the flat side of the axle shaft. That's going to face forward as you bring it through. And then you're going to merge that axle shaft into the crosswind block. When you do that, make sure that you align the holes in the block with the holes in the axle shaft. Then find those 2 flat screws that you put in your parts tray or however you organized. Bring those back, tighten them down. So my guess is the other reel that has failed for this reason, no anti-reverse, is probably the same thing. It's probably dried out. The dog has too much friction. It can't operate in and out, and that's what's causing the problem with the reel. Okay, tighten that back up. We've got the side plate sitting over there. I did squirt that down with a little bit of penetrating oil as a degreaser. I'm going to wipe that clean. And I was wrong. We only have 1 ball bearing in here. There's a bushing on this side, which is fine. We're going to take a moment here, put the second washer there, bring this back, and put the case on. When you put the case on, make sure You've got a nice tight closed seam here that you're not forcing anything in terms of the reinstall. Let's grab the screws, put those in. And there's 4 of them. They're all the same size. I noted that when I was bringing these out. So they can go in any hole. If you notice that the screw is longer or shorter, thicker or thinner, then you need to notice in those which one it is and make sure to reinstall that screw in the same position. Okay, got one more here. And we'll attach the handle, service the drag washers, and bring that back. I'm going to put this down for just a moment, stop the camera for a bit, reorganize a little bit, and be right back. Okay, just a little bit of house cleaning there. Again, this is kind of frozen solid. Now, if you were doing what I generally recommend to do, which is to wash your reels off after each use and spray it down with a like a WD-40 or something, you'd never run into this issue because you would keep these clean and corrosion free. Right now, it's not worth tempting fate to think that you can work that free. All right, we have the handle screw, and reattach the handle screw, and then put the 2 pieces up top, service the spool, and get this one out there fishing again. And hopefully we'll have that same corrective action on the other one, and Captain Ramon will get these back out on the water for his use, his customers' use, or friends and family's use. All right, I'm going to bring that on. There's the shim washer. Just set that aside for a moment. We'll show you the drag washer system in here and what to do to maintain it. So the drag washer system is held in by a 5-sided clip. You want to remove that from the channel, get the dirt out of there. You can see there's a lot of dirt inside here, and that's typical of top-end drag fishing reels. So when you service your drag washer set in this reel, you want to make sure that you clean it up, because that's the biggest issue here. So there's a lot of dirt in there. That makes sense. The line is winding. It's bringing water on. It hits this bowl and has nowhere to go but straight down, and that's why it accumulates in that cavity there. So clean all of that out. That's pretty good. And then you need to do the same thing with the washers. You need to clean the washers off. These have HT100 washers in them. That's all good. At least it has one of them in there. 2. Do the same thing. You can feel the dirt on this. Get rid of the dirt. Now this one has an extra washer in it. I noted that when I took it out. That's the one on the bottom is an eared washer, and it sets the platform for this. So you want to put that back in. Then the Teflon washer is the next one in. And now you have the traditional 6-washer set. The one is in there. You have 2 keyed washers. The keyed washer would go next. HT100s are optional to grease or oil. We're going to leave them dry. That's the way they're in there. Next up is the second of the eared washers. Last of the drag washers. Last of the keyed washers. And then we can reinstall the clip. So your internal drag stack is nice and clean and dry now. It should be problem free. There's a little bit of dirt underneath here, so I'm going to wipe that out. And that's all you need to do to service the drags. Now we just need a final test then, don't we? to get this on. Bring our adjuster button back on. Tighten it up, make sure that the drags hold, then back it off. Okay, let's give it that test. Well, we're still in the anti-reverse mode. Let's bring it over to the reverse side. Yep, we have a nice, easy, even stop now. We've oiled up that bail. Let's make sure that trips. It does. Fires nicely. This reel's ready to go fishing again. So what did we do? We took the reel completely apart. We diagnosed the issue. The issue was that the anti-reverse dog, well, it just didn't stay lubricated. Got a little tight. Didn't want to move in and out. And we fixed that. Lubricated it. Cleaned it up with some penetrating oil. And got it functioning again. The rest of the reel was solid. All the pieces and parts were nice. No damage on them or anything, and well, that's how you do it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to take a minute to thank our police, fire, safety, and rescue folks and everybody who's involved day to day in public safety and keeping us well. And I want to thank everybody for watching the video, for subscribing, and for well, for making this channel what it is. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day and fun fishing.